Welcome, brothers. Welcome, sisters. Welcome to our program On Target. And as usual, as soon as we start this program, you can pick up the telephone and give us a call. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything: politics, religion, socio-economic issues, any issue trending, any topical issue of the day. But most important, you could determine what we speak about. We are on Real FM 91.9, YouTube, and Facebook. We always encourage you to share our program and like. So give us a call. The number to call is 442-0175. Black Wizards song and tune, When the Carnival Over. The carnival is over. It's end, and the rain came in nicely to help to wash the remnants of the carnival away. So we have to deal with some of the realities that we had a nice distraction. You see, the carnival does bring some distraction. Sometimes we act as a subterfuge, give you a chance to ignore reality and perhaps to bury yourself in the music, the fun, and the frolic of the day. But the carnival is over now. The school children have to realize that in the next couple of weeks, they'll have to go back to school. The government of the day have to realize that the little window of opportunity that people have to ignore them is over. And they have to face the reality because we have a country to build. And some of the challenges we have in our country remains high unemployment. The government of the day must, the government of the day must come up with some working practical ideas to help to reduce unemployment. There are serious consequences for high unemployment. And one of them is youth violence. So government definitely have to. The government have contributed to the high unemployment. Every government that makes sense intervenes when unemployment is too high. They recognize the negative consequences of high unemployment, particularly among young people. And you will find government intervening to help to reduce the unemployment, stabilize the environment, and give people hope. There is no one could argue that this government has done the very opposite. Over 1 year in power, and they have contributed to high unemployment. Now, when I say that some members of the National Democratic Congress, sometimes you raise your eyes as if you want to challenge me. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Yes,
Pierre. As
welcome.
an old masquerader, I trust you would have enjoyed what was Carnival.
This time I enjoy from a distance.
From a distance. Yeah. Well, I guess.
But it was good fun still.
The good maker. I just want to commend all of those who have worked behind the scenes to make Carnival what it was. A special commendation to the Rainbow City Mass promoters. They participated in the national show and they won the competition. So to Mr. Ben, his family, and all those who worked, kudos to them. And this speaks well for mass in the future. When I see the amount of children that are participating, it means that the carnival, the involvement of our people would be there for a while. To the Paraclete Mass Band promoters and all of those who in the diaspora work to make it possible. For years you've been there, and without you and without Ben, there is no mass in Grenville. So to those of us who sit idly by and do nothing, This is a chance for us to do what we can to participate and to assist. So many times people say, oh, the carnival was dead or there wasn't much band. But if we don't put out and if we don't participate, there would be no carnival. I just want to say to all of our young people that was on their best behavior and to all of the parents who supported. Now that the carnival is over, we have another page to turn. Prepare for school and let us do what is best in the interests of the children and all concerned. Have a great day, Mr. Pierre. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, scholar, thank you very much. Thank you very much for reminding me that Paraclete Mass Promoters, they have been going at it since over 40 years now. You know, at one time, Paraclete used to have a section in Paradise Mass. And then they started on their own. I think they came out in 1979. Yes, scholar, welcome. Yes, scholar, welcome. All right, we lost the scholar. They came out in 79. It's always a group activity. It's a group that organizes and they, year after year, irrespective of what the activity, the masses and the blood and the vein of the village, and they're able to put out a mass. It takes a lot, you know. It takes a lot from these villages to come up with these fancy mass. It takes quite a lot. And always weak with sponsorship is. So from time to time, people have to be encouraged to contribute to the local activity. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, sister.
Yes, my points today. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the leader of the opposition and the political leader of the New National Party for that engagement with the media, press conference and addresses and so on, talking about the issue of crime, as we know that that's a burning issue. And also the consultation that was held, you know, before the carnival season. And I thought that was, you know, glorious. And it was effective. And as a party, the leadership on the ground, engaging people and talking about being a crime-free Grenada where all of us live in. And Dr. Mitchell, you need the greatest applaud where people in this country was able to hear your voice leading that situation and educating our people to be good and be our brother's keeper. And it continues. And I still continue that good spirit continues where everybody in this country will take a page from the New National Party and do it likewise. Because we need to hear the government voices. We need to hear the police much more. Because if you look at the different crimes that up to now I haven't heard, maybe somebody could tell me, who was charged with Buckley, that young teacher at the Methodist school who died, lost his life, has children to leave behind. Even that young man that they met his body at Kinku and so on. You know, they are children. And even you hear what took place there. And you don't hear the police. You don't hear no statement coming from the police. Even John T. You don't hear nothing. Everything just quiet. And the point is, the police, the national security minister has to do something because people are not, you know, they're not happy to hear Mr. Cohen's voice. Because if you hear the things that are saying on the ground, I think the police has a fundamental role to play. I applaud them, you know. But much more have to be done. And I believe the Prime Minister and Minister of National Security should sit down with the leader of the opposition and other MPs and sit down and look at a formula in solving the crime for this country. Thank you, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, scholar, interesting, and I have to agree with you. I want to have to applaud the opposition leader, and one expect nothing less from him. Dr. Kit Mitchell has been around a long time. So he knows this is not a game. This is not child play. This is serious business. And he knows sometimes you have to nip things at the bud. And if the government took the attitude that they're going to run away from the press, shy away from providing information from the public, and show a level of high hostility against the elderly, the physically challenged and disadvantaged children, then the opposition have no choice but to continue to engage the public, because crime in Grenada would affect everybody. It would affect the opposition too. It would affect the business sector, the labor movement. You see, the government of the day may not know. I think they're so wrapped up in themselves and they're not in touch with reality. So they may not know the impact and the consequences of crime. So I think the opposition was correct. You expect nothing less from them. Their history and the level of maturity would make it absolutely necessary for them to carry out these consultations and to give our people hope and to calm our people down and to discourage the criminals. So I think they were correct in that. I have great faith in the police. Remember, the police in Grenada have a very good reputation for solving crime. Where the Caribbean is concerned, Grenada police is well respected. And the police force reputation would not be destroyed overnight. So I have faith in them. And I believe they would solve those crimes. They may take some time. They have to prepare to constantly interacting with the public, reassuring the public, and improving their working relationship with the public so that they were able to access more information. And I say to public officers, you are very important in implementing government policies. Even when government policies don't good, public workers are expected to implement it. You are part of the government. So even if you have dissatisfaction, you must do your utmost. Your performance must not be retarded by some of the challenges you have in the workplace. So I expect the police to do their utmost and rise to the occasion and grow where they plant you, even if you are dissatisfied. Remember, you're working for the country. The country is important. If we destroy this little rock we have here, everybody is affected. Your children will be affected. So I want to encourage you. Remember the reputation that you have. And you must continue to do your utmost. And I am confident that the police would eventually solve and able to bring the people who are responsible for the death of these individuals to justice. I'm very confident. I have a lot of faith in the police force. I know every department would have challenge. The present government is definitely putting extra challenge on every ministry. Every ministry, not the police alone. Every ministry of government, this government is putting challenge on them. But public officers have to realize they are neophytes. and they wouldn't get it right quickly. They may take longer than is expected to get it right. But you must continue to perform at your utmost, at your best. You know, small countries like ours, we cannot afford, even if we have bad politicians, we cannot afford to destroy our country. It takes quite a lot to build it up. If you remember in the 2008-2013 period, after the National Democratic Congress went home to reflect after the election, the government had to take on the International Monetary Fund to come up with a package for Grenada when no one lost their job. No one lost their job. In addition to that, government increased social spending. It was one of the first template, one of the first successful template that was negotiated with the International Monetary Fund, perhaps in the history of the fund. They came from Greece, and you knew the problem that they had in Greece, and came in Grenada, and we presented the Grenada option. And even the workers in Barbados was saying, try the Grenada option. Yes,
Afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
welcome, baby.
Afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yeah, welcome.
How are you?
Great, man.
Did you enjoy your carnival?
Yes, I did, you know.
Yeah. Well, I thank God for your advice to the Prime Minister. He apparently didn't pay job this year. He took your advice. So that was very nice of you. Okay, you take care, Mr. Pierre.
Yes,
Enjoy
Colin.
your day.
Yeah. Well, I did not mind the Prime Minister playing job, you know. My point was, if the Prime Minister of the country played job and he put oil on it, and when I said that, people corrected me quickly. They said he did not play with oil. So I've been calling on him for over a year to advise the jab not to play with oil. There are alternative substances. There are charcoal they can use with baby oil. And I guess if you could use baby oil, you could use any food grade oil. So the impact, the consequences, the repercussion on the skin 15, 20 years from now would not be that bad. So I beg him, because he's the Prime Minister of the country, I don't expect the Prime Minister to listen to ordinary rustics like me. But the Prime Minister could ask Dr. Noel. Is Dr. Noel or Dr. Lane? Dr. Lane from St. David's. The Prime Minister could ask medical doctors. The Prime Minister could ask nurses, orderlies, even ambulance drivers. He could ask them if they go play job with oil. And if they say no, well, that is enough. You don't have to have a PhD to recognize that oil is spent fluid. And it may be harmful to the biggest organ in the body. You see why it was important for the Prime Minister to take this action. The Prime Minister raised the price of sugar. Politician doesn't do this thing because they knows that when you raise the price of sugar, you affect the majority of poor people in the country. But the Prime Minister lied. He used the excuse it was for health purpose. Well, if it was for health purpose, how you could be encouraging people to play job with oil? You see the contradiction? So then I catch him. I know it was not for health purpose. It was basically to raise taxes. And he put 15 or 20% on sugar. Sugar was zero. Every government before tried to maintain the price of sugar, flour, and rice at a minimum. They sneak in packet rice on us. And they say rice in bag. So we ain't getting rice in bag again. So packet rice have VAT on it. But flour and sugar, the basic items that people use, you want to keep it down. You don't want the destitute poor in your country. Yes, we have poor, but we must not have the destitute poor. So when the Prime Minister raised the price of sugar, the Prime Minister also went after the cottage industry. I like the word confectionaries. It's a new word alone. I knew about dog teeth and fudge and cheap and potato pudding and buns. But then they say a nice word, confectionaries. Now sugar is involved in all these things. People make ice cream, they make other things to help to turn their hand. You know, people used to say, girl, turn your hand. Don't wait on your man, walk alone, turn your hand. And they use the sugar. So when the Prime Minister raised the price of sugar, he seriously affected these people. That is why I said the government, these 9 members of government, that is why I call them vultures. That is why I say they are hostile to the people in the lower income group. Why? Because they raise the price of sugar. 2, they remove $150 from the elderly and the physically challenged. They take away money from disadvantaged children and they threaten the e-money. They don't know if they're going up or they're going down. The people in the lowest income group, the women from Karakou, those from Pulse, the 30 workers in Granba Estate. I ask this question. I ask it even in my dream. What is the justification? What is the rationale that the government advancing for firing 30 workers and keep full? In my research and speaking to workers, I thought these workers was NNP. So I said, well, even though you fire them, then get NDC worker and employ them so you don't decree the estate. But a fella tell me about 19 of them is NDC, you know. But then I remember what wizards say. Inside NDC is NNP. Once you're a low income group and you inside NDC, wizards say inside NDC you have NNP. So the government closed down, practically closed down Granba's estate by sending home 30 workers and keeping 4. The workers involved in the pest management unit, targeting soursop, bearing in mind that Grenada is the only country in the region that exports fresh soursop to the U.S. market, and over $10 million obtained from that trade. How do you explain? How do you explain? How do you justify? How do you rationalize? What reason you advancing for a government to sabotage that industry? I asked this question to Theobaltan Raoud. He's a known NDC. He don't know. He tell me, don't ask me that again. Don't ask me. He said, you have me there, don't ask me. I've been begging individuals involved in the National Democratic Congress to answer. I asked members in agriculture, but some of them don't even watching me now. They will not answer that. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre.
Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
I have a problem, you know.
What is the problem you have?
It's one of the workers, the 8 workers. They sent home since in the end of June from Grand Bacolet.
You was from Grand Bacolet?
Yeah, juvenile center.
They send you home?
Yeah, they say we overage. But the only morning up to now, they can't tell we not.
You over 60?
Yeah.
So they send you home.
And they say up to now, the money owing to us. Nobody tell us nothing. We can't get in contact with nobody. Nobody in saying a word.
Well, I never hear about this group of workers.
Yes, 8 workers are sent.
When I was checking 3,000, I didn't check all you.
Yeah, 8 workers are sent home since in the end of June.
All of them over age?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the owing us some money, and nobody in telling we not the money.
Yeah, well, this government is kind of hostile against old people, you know. I don't know what old people do then.
I went so as far to talk to the person that the ministry fall under. In Miss Gloria.
You spoke to the minister?
Yes, I spoke to Miss
Gloria Thomas.
Yes, and up to now, she don't give me her feedback, and I find like they're playing the okay about people. No, I ain't saying it's the 8 people who are sent home is NNP, because some of us vote out we walk. You understand?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, I find as a form of decency, tell us when you go get me money, because that money is owing us a long time ago. Union and I'll take me money up to now, union and saying nothing.
You all was represented by a union?
Yeah.
Which union?
It's all man, Mr. Grimes and them.
Public Workers Union?
Yeah. Them ain't saying nothing. Them ain't nothing ain't taking place. All we know is a letter. Only on in the year, that we had to go in June. And they tell us they will see and tell us every morning when we go in. And up to now, no money, nothing. And nobody ain't telling us nothing.
Okay.
They go so far that they make a sanction on the compound that we shouldn't be allowed to enter the compound.
They say all mustn't be allowed to enter the compound?
Yeah, so we can't talk to nobody.
Okay.
We ask nobody no question. And again, real pissed off for that. Because I think if you make people go, I don't have no problem with going. But the problem I have is people are responsibility and people are commitment. Tell people something. Say, well, I'll go get all the money in May. I'll go get in December. Nothing, nobody ain't saying nothing. And Mr. Simon and them, they acting like them is bad John. That nobody can ask them nothing. And again, fed up of that, again, stressed out to that. And it have people who just sit down and don't say nothing. For the longest while, I'm trying to keep me cool and just...
Well, you still have to try to keep you cool as much as possible.
Yeah, I ain't lost in my head.
Don't lose your cool.
But, no, I ain't lost in my head. But I find this time, I say something.
But we're going to include you all in the 3,000. This is how we're speaking about Grandba's estate and those workers from the pest management unit with Source Up. We're going to start to speak about the Grand Bacolet workers.
Yeah, especially at the people that they may go home and they can't get the money and they don't telling them nothing about the money.
Yeah.
Because I see they make people all in the place in River Road go and they get the money. We want the money because I find it's time we get the money.
Yes, scholar.
That is advantage.
Yeah. Thank you. You see, sometimes when you speak about that, individuals complain that you're speaking on truth. And that's why I always challenge people. When we speak on radio, if you find that we're saying anything that doesn't look at the truth, look as the truth, point it out to us. Now, this government has seriously contributed to the unemployment in this country. And I don't know why. In my research throughout the whole OECS, no other government has done what this government do. Why these individuals in the National Democratic Congress is so hostile to the people in the lower income group. And I'm encouraging NDC members, the moderates, speak to some of your activists on the ground. Because you see, my concern is the rippling effect these things have. While the Minister of Social Affairs, the Prime Minister, and other high up the scale NDC members hiding from the press, the political activist is trying to defend the NDC. But the language they're using, rough, very dismissive language. You remember the individual on the radio, nasty people? And when they sit down and hear the motivational speaker, they say, let them starve. They're not going to pound stone in the river. They're drinking rum with their money. Well, I had to point out to people, well, if the men drinking rum with their money, what happened to all the elderly women? They're drinking rum too? They say they make too much children. This is the rippling effect that the government restorative policy have on the ground. So I am encouraging the NDC moderates. Speak to your political activists in the communities, because their language is unacceptable and extremely hostile. And after they listen to the motivational speaker, the one the financial institution was sponsoring, and other companies sponsoring him, these individuals seems to get energy, and the language is causing fracture and bitterness on the ground. Mr. Prime Minister, the carnival is over. Give the elderly people back the $150. Give them back. Give them back. A few months you owe them. So give them the retroactive pay. Or, Mr. Prime Minister, go publicly and advance economic justification for taking the money from them. So you have a choice. The union and some of you individuals, when after you finish speak, they must be able to look people in the face and say, yes, you did a good job. Give economic justification for the level of hostility that you have exhibited so far against the elderly, the physically challenged, and disadvantaged children. The brothers in the diaspora, they pay $250, I understand, in Canada to take picture with you. They say they dress up nice. $250. It was so photogenic. They want to keep it there for the children to see. $250 to take picture with greater Prime Minister. I understand they don't get a chance to ask you a question, because it was in a gala. You only eat and take pictures and smile. $250. One of my partners tell me, you ask about the elderly people, what is the justification for removing the $150 from the elderly? But he tell me you couldn't ask questions. Everybody snapping picture. Everybody well dressed up. And they eating food. $250 for the gala to take out pictures. We have some of our individuals flying as if them is air hostess. And this is a means to enrich the coffers. While people in the lowest income group in Grenada, the government removed their money. I called on Comrade Dennis Cornwall recently. It was a particular case. I wanted him to take me on it. Yes, caller, welcome. Yes, caller, welcome. Yes, caller. All right, try again. Look, as we lost you. So just please call back. Yes, I wanted my comrade Dennis Cornwall to take me on it. That case is unique. You see, about 10 years ago, during the NDC period, 2008, 2013, so that's about 15 years ago, they removed the individual from the program. And she went and cried on the shoulders of the then Prime Minister. That is before he was radicalized. And he relented, and they put her back on the program. But now that he has been radicalized, and he say it is rebalancing, she don't know whose shoulders to go and cry on. She said she normally give her mother $300 to take care of her child a month. But now that they take the money from her, she says it's a real nightmare. And she don't want to obey the scholar's advice to open she business. So that is the dilemma that some of the individuals having. And the language, the utterances of the NDC seems to be extremely dismissive. You see? Go and open your business. Some people left with some level of morality and standard, and it's difficult for them to do that. So now that the carnival over, Mr. Prime Minister, you want to beg you, give the people back their money or justify it publicly. Justify it publicly. Tell the public why you took the money. Give economic justification for removing the money from the people. Because remember, Mr. Prime Minister, you promised them $650. You promised them $650. So give them justification. How you could promise $650 and you quoted the World Bank and remove $150 from them. You must publicly give justification. You see, I say these things. This is why I don't believe in reparation, you know. If you get money, you get money. But our people sold our people. And this government is doing the same thing. They turned their backs on the elderly. But they didn't turn their backs on them alone. They're scavenging on the poor. What justification could a government have for taking $150 from the income of the elderly when over 15 years ago you promised them $400 or $450? I mean, how you could make sense of that? You use an elderly man to promise them $400 or $450. And 15 years after you promise them $650 now, and you quote the World Bank, you take out $150. That is why I consider the 9 members of government as vultures. That is the reason. You prey on the weak. You disadvantage the weak. And you have your spoke people, the motivational speakers, the Prince of Hate and others, to use language to drive them in a corner, to make them shame. Dismissive language. Needy and greedy. Let it starve. Let it pound stone in the river. Because that is rebalancing time. You know. So I believe the carnival is over. The challenges that we have in our country is not running away. It is here with us, but we could address it. But we must be prepared to face the issues. The government of the day have to prepare to provide information for our people. You can hide. You can run away from that. You can hide from the press. You can provide misinformation. In this era, when you speak, what you say is on social media is on record. We know you're going to make mistakes, but these things are not mistakes. These are planned misinformation and lies. Look at the cry of the individuals from Bacolet. Government recognize that irrespective of people over 60 years, that they have contribution to make and they can be employed. You decide the over 60 you're gone and you wouldn't give them the money. This is people that I have difficulties, you know. That's why sometimes I have to call my partner Willie. I don't know why Willie got himself radicalized. I mean, who are you going to turn to? Who are you going to turn to advise these political neophytes that what they're doing is immoral? What they're doing is wrong. What the government is doing is contributing to social decadence. What you're doing is wrong. If you decide to get rid of these people, pay them the money. Do it with a little, grace and respect. Pay them. As the gentleman say, if you can't pay us now, tell us when you're going to pay us. Remember, you paid the teachers who did not work. They did not work. They brought the matter to the court. And the court say you don't have a legal responsibility because they did not work. The union in Trinidad tried something like that. The industrial court tell them don't even think about it because they're wrong. But people who were working, you fire them. You're removing people from the seed program. People coming out on the radio, they're giving their names. They're giving their telephone number. They're saying, investigate my case. Some of them, we can't call their names on the phone, on the radio, because other relatives say, no, they go victimize me. I'm a caregiver, I go lose my job. Me is a imani, they go fire me. Now, what happened to the moderate people in the National Democratic Congress? Well, you lose all your head out. You ought not to do that in a country. So we begging and pleading to the moderate people in the NDC to advise the Minister of Social Affairs, our sister Gloria Thomas, to address the individuals from Bacolet, give the people the money. It is not a question that the government don't have money. The CBI program doing well. And the money, the government, the budget, they're collecting more money than they budgeted for. So they don't have a problem with money. When you look at the manner in which the government performing in terms of behaving like an air hostess, flying all over the world unnecessarily, and even bringing their boyfriend. I don't like the word boyfriend, you know. This boyfriend and girlfriend thing is for little children, not big people. When you're big, it's not boyfriend again. You either have a man or something or a woman. So I prefer to use the word spouse. I never know this thing happened in history. Somebody gone on a meeting, but they bring their spouse with them. Because the spouse will get tabanka if they stay home. Now, how could we reduce a government to that level? People can't stay home because they will get tabanka. Because in Brazil, you understand, you know. Some big trip, you know. Your spouse have to go. So I believe that this government is really making fun of all the hard work, the advancement that we have made over the years. the government is really turning the hand of the clock back. And they need to come to their senses. And since they would not listen to ordinary rustics like me on radio, and they wouldn't listen to the opposition, then maybe the moderates in the NDC, for the sake of the longevity of NDC, must speak to these neophytes. Must speak to them and say, that ought not to be your modus operandi. You're not supposed to behave like that. You can't be traveling and bringing your spouse with you. And your spouse is not related. They're not selected, but you have to give them a blight. So I think this is unacceptable. And we need to address this issue as quickly as possible. Longer you continue with that, I think it'll be more difficult. It will be more difficult for you to change. So I do hope that the moderates that listen to us, because the hardliners won't, the moderates that listen to us would speak to the 9 members of the government and ask them to change their attitude. The elderly people in our communities have done you no wrong. Some of them work hard. Some of the women in it had a number of children. And they reach in a situation where they need assistance. Some of the children abandon them. Some of the children neglect them. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good day, Brother Pierre.
Yes, my brother.
And how are you today?
Great, man.
Yeah, I was just wondering what you think of the carnival this year. Hello?
The carnival was generally good.
And did you have find the time to look at the pretty mass bands?
Of course. Look at the Jab, look at the mass. My community, Parklet, always send out a mass band. It's all right.
Oh, because my concern has to do with the reaction of the spectators. We have on the one hand a number of people who are saying that the carnival was a big improvement, whereas there are some of them who think that it was just a display of indecency. What do you think about that?
Well, every carnival you have some of these comments, and sometimes I don't really waste much time with them. Every carnival you have people is concerned that people more and more are getting a little more naked. But that is going on all over the world, where people want to play more with a little brassiere and a little panty now, and they want you to see the tattoo below the navel. I don't have no much issues with that. Sometimes I like to see the tattoo below the navel too. I prefer to see it in the night, 12 o'clock. But if people want to show it in the day, it's all right. But
I'm glad you have that opinion, because we sort of on the same grounds with that, because I sometimes try to argue that God had absolutely no problems with nakedness. Because if you recall the book, I think it's in Genesis, after he created man and woman, his statement was, and it is good.
Yeah. I think it's a lot about the culture, people, and, it's culture. Some people watch their young girls or the women, and they have the men there. And it's a challenge for some of the men, because in this era, it's so easy to lock up a man for touching a woman. Normally you don't lock up women for touching men. Men glad when women touch them.
Of course.
But you lock up men for touching women. And they're close to you, and they have their clothes, and you have to tie your hand behind your back sometime. So, yes,
so we would agree that nakedness and indecency don't really go hand in hand. Are they the same thing?
Not necessarily. And you watch some of the athletes in the Olympic. The women athletes in the Olympic, they run with a panty too.
Exactly.
And even when the girls play in volleyball, while the boys have 3/4 pants, the women have a little panty too. And I guess that attract the crowd more, So
because one of my ideas is that if we recall, wearing clothes according to the biblical account did not take place until after Adam and Eve had sinned.
It's amazing sometimes how we push this little religion in every little thing we use religion, because it's same religion tell us not to thief, don't kill. But sometimes we ignore that, we robbing whole time, but then we make a big issue when a girl walk around with a panty, you know?
Okay, but I think, again, as we say that, I think there's a verse in the Bible that says, do not hide your stuff under a bushel. And if we would agree that one of the things about women is their beauty, then on Carnival Day we get that opportunity to really see God's handiworks rather than clothes covering it up.
But that is a beautiful way, that is an interesting way to put it.
Well, not only that, somebody said, once observe what was God thinking when she created woman. They didn't say when he. And it's because it took so much apparent time for God to create woman that the person thinks that God had in fact been a woman rather than a man, since a man wasn't going to take all that time shaping a woman. So the point I'm trying to make is, every year we get the argument that they should ban the pretty mask, that the pretty mask was not as before. And I think we got to settle that issue. I don't see anything wrong with people dressing on Lagoon Road the same way they dress on Grandin's Beach. The only thing that is missing in the two scenarios is the sand. But other than the sand missing, a woman in a bikini, if you recall, some 80 years or so, it was illegal for a woman to wear a bikini. And so times have changed, and, we must remind ourselves that the only thing that is constant is change. And once we try to, just stick to the same thing, then we get stasis, and with stasis, the tradition dies.
Yes.
So
yes, thank you, and it's good to hear your voice.
I just want to thank you again, Brother Pierre.
All right, bye-bye.
And all the best.
Yes. I witnessed the jab, and, about 3-4 trucks, 2 o'clock in the morning, the individuals was on the trucks. And when all the trucks was filled and ready to move, one of the individuals asked the truck to cut off. He said he wanted silence. And I never know jab could have get silence so. If a pin fall, you could have heard it. And then he was speaking to them. 3 or 4 trucks on the road, and his voice was able to reach them and saying to them, the drivers in the church and the truck know what they're doing and they're quite capable. But the truck is full of load. So you all have to be careful. And safety is important. And be careful how you consume alcohol. And we have women on the truck. And you boys are responsible to make certain the girls don't get drunk and protect them. And I thought that was exceptionally good. Yes, Scholar, you will last, Scholar.
Yes, good afternoon.
See, you got to punch. You are with us. Go ahead.
How are you?
Yeah.
I say good afternoon, and how are you holiday?
Great man, good man.
Yes, but to be truthful, I don't really backing up this about nakedness and this and that, the kind of display what's going on, I am supporting it at all. You know the reason why? A lot of little children in the midst with them same big people head and doing this kind of thing. I don't backing up that. Trust me. Mr. Pierre, I would never like to have my madam and to see her going on any kind of undecent way in the street. You understand?
You never buy no bad chunk for your girl?
Well, if you buy a bad chunk for your girl, and she going on the beach, she go on the beach, she take little water in the beach.
What happen if you are not playing jab?
Playing jab?
You are not playing jab?
Well, if you playing jab in the house, it's no problem.
In the house? Or play jab in the house, let the aisle dirty me closet. Well, you and your girl playing jab?
Yeah, but, Mr. Pierre, let me take this fact. It's easy to see what some of them doing, Some of them real out loud.
But what I'm saying, you and your girl playing jab. When you sit down in a veranda and you're watching this scene, it's totally different from when the drum beating, the shell blowing, the music playing, and you and your girl playing jab.
Play jab.
It's different,
and play jab jab. If you play jab jab and you have a nice little short pants on you or something.
Short pants? I'm with you. The woman looking nice as Gov.
But they showing not everything now.
She nice as Gov. She like a supper dealer ripe in the shade.
Yeah.
And she well endowed with oil.
Yeah, but after them men, they would never like to see the data or the madam on the street.
Nice fellas are not playing job, man.
Eh?
Nice fellas are not playing job.
Well, yes.
Yeah. When we come to the end of the program,
well, all right, I'll leave it, but I don't
take your next time. Yes. And I was saying after the gentleman spoke, he said just one more. And another young man prayed. And he asked God to take care of the job on the truck. And I thought, well, that was so beautiful and Christian-like. But now that the carnival is over, we have to all prepare to hold discussion on any issues in our homes, in the communities, and the government must prepare to soften up the position against the elderly, against the physically challenged, against the weak, against the workers in Bacolet, against the workers on Grand Bay Estate, and the other workers in the country. The government have to soften up the position. And we want to thank you for being with us today. Always remember to share our program and like our program and share it. And we're back with you again tomorrow for another opportunity to punch, and you have an opportunity to express yourself. Thank you very much.